Greetings and salutations, everybody. You are listening to another episode of Mama Rue's Ancestral Musings. If you are a new listener, thanks for giving me a chance and checking out my little Spreaker podcast. And if you are a returning listener, hey, thanks for coming back. I know that I'm a little tough to listen to, okay? And if you talk to my husband, I'm a little tough to live with. But everything I do, everything I say is done out of love for my people. And sometimes, it comes out angry and it comes out harsh. It comes out offensive. I cuss like a sailor. I don't give a fuck. But that's just me, okay? I really do try, and if you may have noticed, if you listen to the beginning of my Spreaker podcast, I'm always relatively clean. But then as I get into it, as the minutes go on, I just start dropping them bombs. I just can't help it. Many of you who do listen to me are familiar with that, because of a show I used to be on Blog Talk Radio where we had regularly scheduled programming on Fridays, but then we would have Cussin' Mondays on Mondays, and that was like the favorite because I didn't have to police my language, I could just let it flow and be comfortable, let my hair down, kick my feet up, and that's the way it should be. So for those of you who have, let me know how you feel about my cussing and expressing myself, I need y'all to peep that article. It's a peer-reviewed article that says that people who use profanity are higher in intelligence than those who don't. So, bloop. Yeah, just Google it. Google it. It's out there. Anyway, today's episode is a departure from the previous couple, which were impromptu based on my reactions to the stuff that's going on in the country. This is a more planned, organized episode, and it's about prosperity, money, and our ancestors. Okay? And we're going to talk about how we can draw prosperity to us, as well as block the things out of our lives that tend to take it away from us. Now, when we talk about money work in the realm of hoodoo, root work, and conjure, voodoo, etc., we tend to think about bringing something, drawing something, manifesting something, okay? And this shows up in a lot of ways, particularly if we're not explicit, or very detailed about what it is we're trying to bring or trying to make happen. So sometimes when you do a general money drawing work, and I'll get into what those are, I'll give a few examples in a bit. Sometimes it shows up as a check in the mail from your utility company or your credit card company or your bank even. It'll show up as some sort of mistake they made on your account, and you may or may not know what that is. And usually if you don't know, you don't really make a big to-do about it. Am I right? I know we don't. Okay, when those unexpected checks come in the mail and they're like, oh, we made a mistake, here's your refund. We don't investigate that shit. Why? So they can double check it and go, oh, our bad. Give us some money back. We made a mistake thinking we made a mistake. Fuck that. Okay. Now, yeah, should they later down the road realize they gave you that money in error? Don't be an asshole. Give it back. Okay. But in my experience, when that happens, and it happens to us, a few times a year, I would say, we accept it, and not once have they asked for it back. So we just chalk it up as a blessing, as a manifestation of the work being done. Okay. If you follow me on Twitter, you will probably be aware that I always do a morning greeting to the ancestors. When I get on my Twitter in the morning, that's the first thing that I like to tweet about. And I usually will use some language on this day, okay? Because I like working with the different energies of the days of the week. Now, that isn't necessarily an ancestral thing. This is more of, me being an American thing, but certain energies, and there are planetary associations, and this also has to do with, my father's ancestors as well. They were big into the, astronomy and astrology thing, which I will myself be learning more about down the road. But each day of the week is associated with a particular energy, okay? And that can be planetary energy, or it is. So I like to give little thanks and greetings and good mornings that align with whatever that energy is. And so today is Monday, okay? And for myself, now this might go against what's out there and what's known by most people who do this kind of work. But Mondays for me are money Mondays. I like to do money work. Fridays are known for money, and sometimes Wednesdays and Thursdays. Thursdays are great for increase and things like that. But on Mondays, I usually do on Mondays, I usually do my money drawing. I start those up on Mondays. Okay, so, those of you who purchase I keep saying love when I want to say money. For those of you who have purchased money drawing candle services, you know, if you buy them from me on a Wednesday, they're going to get set up the following Monday. I like to start those going on Mondays. Mondays are also good for enhancing focus and clarity, okay? For allowing to see things that you really can't see or haven't seen, clarity, all right? Moving beyond, the curtain or the veil and in that sense, in a spiritual sense. But I also like working Mondays for money. Now, how do our ancestors play in? Now, this is something that I have always said when speaking about our ancestors, particularly our more recent ancestors. And I think this can apply to most folks here, because there's a small minority of folks whose ancestors had things pretty darn good, okay? Before the lot of us, not so. Okay, so we had ancestors who struggled in this land. And not only did they have, discrimination and systematic and systemic racism to overcome, they had to deal with intra-community competition, okay? Because the struggle was real for our people, post-slavery, Reconstruction, Jim Crow. It was hard, and that's, where this kind of work kind of flourished, all right? So a question that comes up a lot is, instead of fighting each other, why weren't we as a people fighting against our common enemy? Why were we so hung up on hurting one another, our own community members, and in a lot of cases, even our own family members? Well, that's what happens when you're desperate. That's what happens when you've been busting your ass trying to find a job and there ain't no job. But then you see, Leroy over there, and he's someone, who might not be the most stand-up person around, but how did his slick ass get over? How he get a job? What the hell? And so you might feel some kind of way because that's how it works, all right? Times is rough. And if you're hungry and you ain't got what's going on, you might do a little something to take it from somebody else, especially if you feel you're more deserving. So, yes, there was a lot of jujuing on our own, okay, and still is. And if you've been following my Twitter since April, you know exactly what I mean when I say that shit, okay? We real quick to turn on each other. family members, loved ones, okay, because of I guess, a notion in our minds that we are more deserving than the person that's got something that we don't have. And so we get, all up into our little feelings, and we might throw some juju on them for them to either lose what they have, or we're going to take what they got. Okay. I would really like to hope that we as a people, in this day and age, would turn our energies elsewhere instead of trying to strike each other down and hurt each other. We need to build together, okay? We need to build together. And a great way to do that is to do collective works, honoring your ancestors for prosperity and abundance. We do it as an individual, okay, on the individual level. But can I just tell you, when you do this kind of work as a family, and if you're alone and don't have family, that's fine. I'm not leaving you out, okay? You can do works with other individuals, in tandem, just like we did the worldwide ritual against police brutality that passed Saturday before last. There were many people working on their own, but they had the knowledge and the full realization that they were not working alone, that there were people all over the country and all over the world doing the same focused types of work for the same reasons. You can do the same things for prosperity. Okay? Call your brothers and sisters who are of like mind and plan a tandem ritual with them. And like I say, you can do this Mondays, you can do this Wednesdays, Thursdays, or Fridays. Those are my preferred days for attracting abundance and prosperity. Now, getting back to how the ancestors fit in, like I was saying, times were rough, all right? Our ancestors who were enslaved on this land didn't know, for the most part, what it was like to accumulate wealth, all right, to have financial abundance. Now, some did. There are exceptions to this. There were some who were able to do jobs to sell, crafted items, or, things that they grew out of gardens that they were given permission to maintain. All right. It just depends. Everything was different if you went from place to place to place. And so some were able to earn livings and earn enough money to buy their own or another's freedom. Okay. But for the bulk of the enslaved, that was not so. And so financial freedom was just not even a blip on their radar, because they were what? The producers for another man's accumulation of wealth and abundance. Okay, so let me speak to those ancestors first. You have to understand, okay, that these particular ancestors have a huge interest in their child's ability to be financially free, financially fit, okay, financially secure, financially able to take care of yourselves and others, okay? You should be in a position to take care of yourself and someone else. And those particular ancestors, they get to be blessed by your financial freedom, your financial strength, your financial progression, your financial mobility. Okay, because it is something that they never knew. You understand that? Can you grasp that? Okay, so please keep that in mind when you honor your ancestors, when you give thanks, when you pour libations in their memory, in their honor, when you revere them and thank them for their love and life, for without which you would not exist. Appeal to those ancestors, whether you know their names or not, whether you have photos or, anything of them or not. It doesn't matter. Always speak to the ancestors, known and unknown, seen and unseen. Okay? Give them offerings. I like to put money on my ancestral shrine that honors the ancestors of this land. And they will bless the money. Okay? There's an old hoodoo trick where you take paper money and you write your initial under